In the middle of a war where Iran is supposed to be presenting a unified front of defiance against the most powerful military in the world, the Iranian government itself made a statement this week that should be sending alarm bells through every intelligence agency, every diplomatic corps, and every energy market analyst on the planet. Iran's foreign ministry stated that the military has lost control over several units, which are operating according to old general instructions. Read that again slowly. Iran's own foreign ministry said its own military has units that are no longer under central command and are operating on autonomous instructions from before the war began. If that assessment is accurate, it means that some portion of Iran's missiles, drones, naval assets, and whatever other weapons systems those uncontrolled units possess are being launched, directed, and targeted without anyone in Tehran's current leadership structure making the decision to fire them. In a war where a single stray missile striking the wrong target, killing the wrong people, or hitting the wrong country could trigger a cascade of consequences that nobody has planned for, the admission that some Iranian military units have effectively gone autonomous is one of the most alarming statements made by any government in this conflict. I went through Wikipedia's 2026 Iran war documentation where this statement is recorded, Iran's Foreign Ministry Public Communications, the broader context of what we know about Iranian military command structure, and the IRGC's relationship to civilian government, reporting from CNN, Al Jazeera, NPR, and published analysis from the Atlantic Council, the Wilson Center, and other Iran-focused research institutions to give you the full picture of what this admission means, why it happened, and what it implies for where this war goes from here. By the end of this video, you will understand the Iranian military's command structure, what losing control of units actually means in operational terms, and why this is the single most dangerous development of the entire conflict for the risk of catastrophic miscalculation. Let's start with the command structure. Iran's military is not a single unified institution with a clean chain of command running from the supreme leader down to individual soldiers. It is a complex ecosystem of multiple overlapping military organizations with different loyalties, different doctrines, and different command relationships. The regular Iranian armed forces, which include the Army, Navy, and Air Force, are theoretically subordinate to the president and to the supreme leader through the formal constitutional chain of command. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, is a parallel military organization established after the 1979 revolution specifically to protect the Islamic system of government, and it operates with significantly greater independence from civilian oversight than the regular military. The IRGC has its own ground forces, its own navy, its own aerospace force with ballistic missiles and drones, and its own intelligence apparatus. The IRGC's Quds Force, which is responsible for extraterritorial operations and for coordinating proxy militias across the region, adds another layer of autonomous operational capability. And beyond all of these official structures, there are the various militia groups in Iraq, Lebanon, Yemen, and elsewhere that operate under Iranian guidance and support, but with varying degrees of independence from Tehran's direct command. The practical effect of this multi-layered structure in normal times is that Iran can conduct operations through proxies that give it plausible deniability, maintain multiple simultaneous pressures on adversaries, and absorb the loss of any single unit or organization without losing overall capability. In the current wartime context, after 15 days of the most intensive bombing campaign in the Middle East since the 2003 Iraq invasion, the command and control infrastructure that coordinates these multiple layers has been severely degraded. U.S. Central Command confirmed striking more than 6,000 targets inside Iran. Among those targets were command and control installations, communications infrastructure, radar systems, and leadership compounds. Iran's internet has been at approximately 4% of normal function according to NetBlock data, meaning the digital communications that modern military command and control depends on have been almost entirely disrupted. The IRGC leadership compound was struck early in the conflict. Senior military officials were killed. The supreme leader was killed on day one, and his replacement is reportedly wounded and has not been seen publicly since his elevation on March 8th. Into this environment of degraded communications, disrupted command infrastructure, and traumatized leadership, the Foreign Ministry's admission that some units are operating according to old general instructions makes operational sense even as it is diplomatically and strategically alarming. Old general instructions means pre-war standing orders that tell units what to do in the event of American and Israeli military aggression. These orders were presumably written before the war began and may include instructions to strike specific categories of targets in the event of certain trigger conditions, regardless of whether current leadership is issuing real-time authorization. Units that cannot reach higher headquarters because communications infrastructure has been destroyed may be executing those pre-programmed standing orders rather than waiting for authorizations that may never come through disrupted channels. This is not unique to Iran. Military organizations around the world have standing orders and pre-delegated authorities precisely because command communications can be disrupted in wartime. But the combination of standing orders, degraded communications, a new and reportedly wounded supreme leader, and an IRGC culture of ideological commitment to resistance creates a situation where the range of possible Iranian military actions is significantly wider than the current civilian leadership may want or intend. The implications for escalation risk are severe and immediate. In a normal military conflict between two parties with functioning command structures, both sides have the ability to make deliberate decisions about whether a particular action crosses a threshold that would trigger a specific response. Escalation control depends on this deliberate decision-making capability. When one party's military has units operating autonomously on standing orders, the deliberate decision-making chain is broken. An autonomous unit following pre-war orders may launch an attack that the current Iranian leadership would not have authorized because the political and strategic calculus has changed since those orders were written. That unauthorized attack might strike a target that triggers an American or allied response that the Iranian leadership did not intend to provoke, which could then trigger a further American escalation that Iran's autonomous units respond to with another standing order strike, creating an escalation spiral that nobody is consciously driving, but that nobody has the communications capacity to stop. The specific risk categories that defense analysts are watching most closely in light of this admission involve Iran's most dangerous remaining capabilities. Iran is believed to hold approximately 6,000 naval mines, according to a congressional report cited by CNN earlier this week. Mine-laying operations in the Strait of Hormuz or in Gulf waters conducted by autonomous units following standing orders could sink commercial or military vessels without any deliberate decision by Iran's current leadership. Iran's ballistic missile inventory, while reportedly significantly depleted, still contains weapons capable of reaching Israel, American bases across the region, and Gulf state infrastructure. A launch by an autonomous unit following standing orders triggered by some perceived threshold condition could strike a target that escalates the conflict beyond any boundary that has been implicitly observed to date. And Iran's proxy networks in Iraq, Lebanon, and Yemen are by their nature semi-autonomous, meaning Hezbollah, Iraqi militias, and Houthi forces may take actions in coordination with standing Iranian doctrine that the current Iranian leadership cannot easily stop, even if it wanted to. Let's bring this all together. Iran's own foreign ministry admitted this week that the military has lost control over several units operating on old general instructions. This is a command and control breakdown in the middle of an active war. The causes are identifiable. The most intensive bombing campaign in Middle Eastern history has destroyed communications infrastructure, killed senior military officials, wounded the new supreme leader, and disrupted the command networks that coordinate multiple overlapping Iranian military organizations. The consequence is that some portion of Iranian military actions are now being taken without real-time authorization from current leadership, based on pre-war standing orders that may not reflect the current political and strategic situation. This is the most dangerous development of the entire conflict for the risk of unintended escalation, because it means that neither side's leadership can fully predict or control what happens next. Watch for any Iranian strike that seems strategically irrational or disproportionate to the current situation, because that may be the signature of an autonomous unit following standing orders rather than a deliberate decision by Tehran's current leadership. If this breakdown gave you the command structure context that most coverage is completely missing, please hit the like button and subscribe so you catch every update. Drop a comment with your reaction to Iran's own government admitting it has lost control of some military units. I will see you in the next one.